Representative Schaeffer, I'm going to ask you in particular several questions on page 15 of your bill, section 411.559. So I just want to give you that heads up so you can be ready for that section. But before we get there, is the purpose of HB20 to enact a state law parallel to the federal immigration law so that Texas can prevent illegal border crossings?
The purpose of HB20 is to assert constitutional authority to secure the state of Texas when people are in imminent danger and tens of thousands of people are dying from fentanyl, and to provide security to local communities that are being overrun.
So then it is the intent for Texas to prevent illegal border crossings under the authority of your bill?
I have stated the intent. It is to assert authority under the United States Constitution to defend the state of Texas from tens of thousands of people being killed by cartels pumping fentanyl into our neighborhoods, and to bring control to the area in between the ports of entry.
But according to you, if this is federal constitutional authority, then we wouldn't need this bill. So your bill in particular is to prevent illegal border crossings. What you're doing, this is state authorization to prevent illegal border crossings?
This is a constitutional authorization.
Okay. So is the intent then to say that in House Bill 20, Texas Border Protection Unit officers will not operate under the direction or control of federal immigration officers?
That's not what I've stated. We're going to comply with all laws of the United States.
So would they answer to federal immigration officers? The Texas Border Protection Unit that's established by your bill?
They are going to operate consistent with the United States Constitution. The officers, employees, the Border Protection Unit will report to the governor, and the governor will follow the Constitution and the laws of the United States.
So then they will not be under the direction or control of federal immigration officers?
I've given you my answer, Representative Hinojosa.
I know, but you're not answering my question.
I'm sorry if it doesn't answer your question.
I just want to know,
you're trying to get me to say something that's not something I intend to say, and I'm not going to say what you want to say.
Well, I think it's a legitimate question to know, do they answer to federal immigration officers or not?
They will operate consistent with the laws of the United States.
Okay. Well, you're not answering my question, Representative Schaeffer. Let me move on to the extent of the authority for the Texas Border Protection Unit. So on page 15, section 411.559, the bill authorization of BPU officers to, quote, arrest, apprehend, detain, or deter persons crossing the Texas-Mexico border unlawfully. BPU officers will determine whether an individual is crossing the border unlawfully. Is that correct?
In a manner consistent with the Constitution.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Hinojosa, for what purpose?
I move for an extension of time to further question the
Members,
author.
You've heard the motion. Is there objection? There is objection.
On this bill?
This is a division vote. Vote aye, vote nay. Strike the board. A record vote has been requested. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Schaeffer voting nay. Have all voted? There being 82 ayes, 52 nays, the motion is adopted. Mr. Schaeffer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Hinojosa, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
I'll yield for some questions.
The gentleman yields.
Thank you. I believe the question that I was asking is, will the BPU officers determine whether an individual is crossing the border unlawfully under your bill?
In a manner consistent with the Constitution, they may do that.
They may do, so they may decide whether. May they also decide under section 411.559 which people to arrest for illegal border crossing?
They will act in a manner consistent with the Constitution to determine what is necessary as far as what conduct needs to be addressed.
So they will decide then which people to arrest for illegal border crossing? They will have the power of that determination?
They will do so in a manner consistent with the Constitution.
They will decide which people to arrest? Correct.
I've answered your question.
Representative Schaeffer, this is a basic question. Do they get to decide who to arrest?
And I told you they're going to, they have the authority to arrest people that they have seen crossing illegally in between the ports of entry in a manner consistent with the Constitution.
Okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Can you just repeat what you just said? I'm sorry, I legitimately couldn't hear. Can you repeat what you just said, please?
The bill gives them the authority.
Okay. And so then when they arrest these people under section 411.559, the people crossing the Texas-Mexico border, quote, unlawfully, will they be able to hold these people in state custody? Is that correct?
I think they're going to fulfill the operational purpose here, which is if the bill states very plainly that if someone is crossing the border illegally in between the ports of entry, then under the certain sections of the bill, under the invasion clause, they would have that authority.
Okay. And so there's another section, or there's another part to section 411.564 about, quote, returning aliens to Mexico. So BPU officers will decide who to repel or return to Mexico. Is that correct?
I think that you've asked the same question three different ways.
Well, this is about who to before it was about who to arrest, right? But there's also a section about returning, quote,
persons that have been actually observed.
Right, returning aliens to Mexico. That's a quote from the bill. The officers will decide who to repel or return to Mexico. Is that correct?
In a manner consistent with the United States and Texas Constitution, they will deter and repel persons attempting to enter this state unlawfully at locations other than the ports of entry, return aliens to Mexico who have been observed actually crossing the Texas-Mexico border unlawfully, and were apprehended, detained, or arrested in the vicinity of the Texas-Mexico border.
So yes. Let me ask, there was an original version of this bill, and in the committee substitute, isn't it correct that the committee substitute removes the language about acting consistently with, quote, federal immigration laws from section 411.564, which grants power to BPU officers to deter, repel, arrest, and return individuals to Mexico after a declaration of invasion or imminent danger?
It wasn't necessary to include that caveat in the substitute because the phrase consistent with the Constitution already requires compliance with federal immigration law. Article 6 of the Constitution, which is the Supremacy Clause, makes federal immigration statutes the supreme law of the land and compels compliance with federal statutes as a matter of constitutional command. So the bill will be interpreted and enforced in a manner consistent not only with the Constitution, but also federal immigration statutes.
Okay. There's a finding on page 2 of the bill, section 1.02. It's a finding of imminent danger. Does the finding of imminent danger in the bill constitute a legislative finding that a state of invasion or imminent danger under section 10, article 1 of the United States Constitution exists that triggers the authority of the BPU chief to order removals of unlawful border crossings?
So the finding in the bill reads that this state is in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay and declares authority under Section 10, Article 1, United States Constitution. And the bill has provisions that outline the powers that exist when that finding has been made.
Members, please take your conversations outside the rail.
Okay, so that it is your position that that is the trigger under Section 10, Article 1 of the United States Constitution for the authority of the BPU chief to order removal of unlawful border crossings, the findings in this bill, the finding of imminent danger.
Representative Hinojosa, I have to apologize. I didn't hear the beginning of your statement.
Okay. So on page 2 of the bill, there is a finding of imminent danger.
Correct.
What I would like to know is does that finding of imminent danger constitute a legislative finding that a state of invasion or imminent danger under Section 10, Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution exists that triggers the authority of the BPU chief to order removals of unlawful border crossers?
Yes.
Okay. I want to get to the purpose of the bill and the impetus for the bill. In the testimony before the Senate Border Security Committee on March 16, 2023, Attorney General Paxton stated, quote, Arizona has tried to pass laws similar to what the federal government passed, but, quote, unfortunately, the court ruled by saying that the state couldn't step in and pass these laws. Is the purpose of House Bill 20 to enact a state border protection law and challenge the ruling in Arizona v. U.S. that states can't step in and pass these laws?
The purpose of HB20 is to assert the self-defense powers under the U.S. Constitution to unify our state's border security mission to address the imminent danger of tens of thousands of people dying in the country, thousands of people dying in the state of Texas from fentanyl poisoning, fentanyl homicides, and to restore peace and security to the people that live along the border.
And so is it your intention to challenge?
I cannot speak to what General Paxton's statements were. You'll have to ask him regarding what his intention is.
But okay, I'm asking you, is it your intention to challenge Arizona v. United States?
My intention is to do just what I stated.
In his testimony before the Senate Border Security Committee on March 16, 2023, Attorney General Paxton also stated that he disagreed with the U.S. Supreme Court in Arizona v. U.S. and, quote, we should do what we can to try and overturn that decision. So are we trying to reverse Arizona v. United States?
The Attorney General is entitled to his opinion. I have stated to you what the purpose, my purpose is for this bill.
Okay. He also stated, the only way I know to do this, to challenge Arizona v. U.S., is to test it. And we got a couple of ideas on how to do that. Your bill, he was referring to Senate Bill 2424 at that time, does that. There will be other ways that we can also test it and find out where the court is and find out what the parameters of that decision are. Again, is the purpose of House Bill 20 to enact a law similar to federal law that will test the preemption principle articulated in Arizona v. United States?
Representative Hinojosa, your question has been asked and it has been answered.
Well, I want to know if it's your intention to challenge this Supreme Court precedent. The other thing that he also said is, quote, we've got different Supreme Court justices and we've got a different court and the best chance we've ever had to overturn that. And that's what I'm wondering. If this legislation is trying to take advantage of the fact that our court has changed and you see an opportunity to
Gentleman's
challenge.
time has expired. The following amendment, the clerk will read the amendment.